I was staring at my husband's phone when I saw it, the text that would change everything. Can't wait to celebrate with you tonight, handsome. Just the two of us later. V. My name is Danielle, and I've spent 7 years building an empire that everyone thinks belongs to my husband. Honey, have you seen my phone? Miles called from the bathroom, his voice echoing off the marble tiles of our master suite. I set the device back on the nightstand, my hand surprisingly steady. It's right here. He emerged, toweling his hair, looking every bit the successful tech executive he pretended to be. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy smile that had charmed investors and board members for years, the same smile that had charmed me once upon a time. Thanks, babe. He kissed my cheek absently, already scrolling through his messages. I watched his face light up at Vanessa's text. Big day today. The Morrison contract should be finalized. Should be? I raised an eyebrow. I submitted the final proposal yesterday. It's done. Right, of course. He wasn't even listening. God, I love you in that dress. Very professional. I glanced down at my navy blazer and pencil skirt, the same outfit I'd worn to every major client meeting for the past 3 years, the outfit I'd worn when I'd personally convinced Morrison Industries to sign with us instead of our biggest competitor. Miles. I waited until he looked at me. Who's Vanessa? His thumb paused mid-scroll. Vanessa? Oh, she works with the Peterson Group. Networking, you know how it is. Networking. Right. My phone buzzed. A text from Jamie, our CTO, and the only person in the company who actually knew where the bodies were buried. Emergency. Can you come in early? Something's wrong with the Morrison files. I need to go, I said, grabbing my purse. Wait, what about breakfast? Mom's coming by this morning to discuss tonight's dinner. Of course she was. Gabriella never missed an opportunity to remind me of my place in the Evans family hierarchy, which was somewhere below the houseplants. Tell your mother I said hello, I said, already heading for the door. Danielle? His voice stopped me. Tonight's important. The promotion dinner. I need you there. I turned back to look at him. Really look at him. When had he started looking at me like I was an obligation instead of a partner? I'll be there. The drive to our offices gave me 20 minutes to think, 20 minutes to process the fact that my husband was texting another woman, 20 minutes to remember how we'd started this company in our garage 7 years ago, how I'd written the first lines of code that would become our flagship product, how I'd pitched our first investor while Miles was still trying to figure out what a venture capitalist actually did. Jamie was waiting in my office when I arrived, his usually calm demeanor replaced by something that looked like panic. We have a problem, he said, closing the door behind me. The Morrison contract? No, that's fine. It's. He ran a hand through his dark hair. I was doing routine maintenance on the server last night and found something. Someone's been copying files. Lots of files. My blood went cold. What kind of files? Everything. Client lists, proprietary code, financial records. But here's the weird part. They're not stealing them. They're duplicating them to a separate partition. Who has that level of access? Jamie's expression told me everything I needed to know before he said it. Only 3 people, you, me, and Miles. I sank into my chair, the pieces clicking together with horrible clarity. The distance, the late nights, the mysterious meetings. Vanessa. There's more, Jamie said quietly. I found email drafts in the system. Miles has been in contact with Hartwell and Associates. Hartwell and Associates, the law firm that specialized in corporate restructuring and more specifically pushing out founding partners. Show me. For the next hour, Jamie walked me through a digital paper trail that painted a picture I should have seen coming. My husband wasn't just cheating on me. He was preparing to erase me from the company we'd built together. Danielle. Jamie's voice was gentle. What do you want to do? I stared at the screen, at the evidence of my husband's betrayal spelled out in black and white. 7 years of my life. 7 years of 18-hour days, of sacrificing friendships and dreams, of standing in the shadows while Miles took credit for my work. I want to know everything, I said finally. Every file he's copied, every email he's sent, every meeting he's had. Can you do that? Jamie nodded. Already started. My phone rang. Miles. Hey, babe. Mom wants to know if you can pick up the flowers for tonight. She's at the country club. Of course she is. What? Nothing. I'll handle it. You're the best. Love you. The line went dead before I could respond, which was probably for the best because I wasn't sure what I would have said. I looked at Jamie, who was watching me with a mixture of concern and something that looked like admiration. Tonight's going to be interesting, I said. The Morrison contract signing should have been my moment. Instead, I watched from the back of the conference room as Miles shook hands with their CEO, basking in congratulations that belonged to me. Incredible work, Miles, Ivan Morrison said, his voice carrying across the room. Your proposal was exactly what we needed. Innovative, thorough, cost-effective. My proposal, my 3 months of research, my late nights perfecting every detail. Thank you, Ivan. I'm thrilled we could make this work, Miles replied, that practiced smile never wavering. Jamie caught my eye from across the room and shook his head slightly. Even he looked disgusted. Danielle, Miles called out suddenly. Come meet Ivan. She's our operations coordinator. Operations coordinator. I'd been demoted in real time. I walked over, extending my hand to Ivan. Actually, I'm the one who worked on your proposal. I'm glad we could address all your technical requirements. Ivan's eyebrows rose. Oh, I wasn't aware. Danielle's being modest, Miles interrupted smoothly. She helped with some of the preliminary research. Team effort, you know. The dismissal was so casual, so practiced, that I almost admired its efficiency. Almost. Well, Ivan said, looking between us uncertainly, whoever deserves the credit, you got yourselves a deal. After Ivan left, the board members clustered around Miles like he was holding court. I started to leave when I heard Atticus's voice from the hallway. Finally ready to make some changes around here. I paused by the door just out of sight. The boy's got potential, Atticus continued. Always said so, but he needs to surround himself with the right people. Exactly what I've been telling him. Gabriella's voice was sharp with satisfaction. Some partnerships are meant to be temporary, stepping stones, you might say. Vanessa seems like a much better fit, Atticus said. Sophisticated, connected, the kind of woman who can open doors. She's perfect for him, and she actually understands the business world. My hands clenched into fists. I understood the business world just fine. I built half of it. When are you thinking? Atticus asked. Soon, after tonight's dinner probably. Once the promotion is official, he'll have more leverage, more options. I backed away from the door, my heart pounding. They weren't just planning to push me out of the company, they were planning to push me out of the family. Danielle? Jamie appeared beside me. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Something like that. I pulled him into an empty office. I need that information, all of it, tonight. I've got most of it already, but no buts. Everything Miles has been hiding, I want it ready by dinner. Jamie studied my face. What are you planning? I'm planning to give everyone exactly what they deserve. The rest of the day passed in a blur of fake smiles and careful preparation. I picked up Gabriella's flowers, white roses, because of course they were. I confirmed the dinner reservations at the country club. I even helped Miles pick out his tie. You seem different today, he said, adjusting his collar in the mirror. Quiet. Just thinking about tonight. Big moment for you. For us, he corrected, but his eyes were already back on his phone. Another text from Vanessa, no doubt. Miles. I waited until he looked at me. Do you remember our first investor meeting in that tiny conference room downtown? His expression softened slightly. Of course. You were so nervous you spilled coffee on your presentation. And you said it didn't matter because the work spoke for itself. It did. We made a great team back then. Back then, past tense. We did, I agreed. We really did. My phone buzzed. Jamie. Package delivered to your car. Everything you asked for. Are you sure about this? I typed back quickly. Never been more sure of anything. Who's that? Miles asked. Just work stuff. Nothing important. He nodded, already losing interest. I should probably head over early, make sure everything's set up properly. Of course, I'll see you there. After he left, I sat in our bedroom for a long moment, looking at the life we'd built together. The photos on the dresser showing happier times, the awards on the wall with both our names on them, the wedding picture where we both looked so young and hopeful. Then I walked to my car and opened the envelope Jamie had left on the passenger seat. Bank records showing Miles had opened a separate account. Email threads with Hartwell and Associates discussing partnership dissolution strategies. Text messages with Vanessa that went back 6 months. And the piece de resistance, a draft press release announcing his promotion and the restructuring of key personnel. My name wasn't mentioned once. I drove to the country club with the envelope beside me, my hands steady on the wheel. Tonight was supposed to be Miles's triumph, his moment to step into the spotlight and claim everything we'd built together. He was right about one thing. It was going to be a big moment, just not the kind he was expecting. The country club's dining room sparkled with crystal and candlelight. I'd been to dozens of these events over the years, always playing the supportive wife, always smiling at the right moments. Tonight felt different. Tonight I knew it was my last performance. Danielle, darling. Gabriella swept toward me in a cloud of expensive perfume and barely concealed disdain. You look adequate. Thank you, Gabriella. You look lovely as always. She was already scanning the room, probably looking for more important people to talk to. I do hope you'll remember tonight is about Miles. Try not to draw attention to yourself. I'll do my best. Atticus appeared at his wife's elbow, nodding curtly in my direction. Danielle. Atticus. That was the extent of our conversation. 7 years of marriage to his son, and the man still treated me like hired help. Where's the guest of honor? Valentina asked, joining our awkward little circle. Miles's sister had always been caught in the middle, too loyal to openly defend me, too decent to join in the attacks. Networking, Gabriella said proudly, as he should be. This promotion opens so many doors. I spotted Miles across the room, deep in conversation with Ivan Morrison and 2 other major clients. He looked confident, relaxed, like a man who had everything under control. Ladies and gentlemen, the maitre d' announced, dinner is served. We took our seats at the head table. I was positioned between Valentine and Summer from HR, while Miles held court at the center, flanked by his parents and the most important guests. The seating arrangement said everything about my place in this family. So exciting about the Morrison deal. Summer whispered to me, Miles must be over the moon. He's certainly pleased. I heard it was a tough negotiation. Good thing he's so brilliant with clients. I smiled and reached for my wine glass. The envelope from Jamie was in my purse, waiting. Halfway through the main course, Gabriella stood up, tapping her champagne flute with a knife. The room fell silent. "If I may have everyone's attention," she began, her voice carrying that practiced authority of someone born to command rooms. "Tonight we celebrate not just my son's well-deserved promotion, but the bright future ahead of him." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "Miles has always been destined for greatness," Gabriella continued. "Even as a child, he showed the kind of vision and leadership that sets true entrepreneurs apart from, well, from those who simply follow." Her eyes flicked to me for just a moment, but it was enough. Several people at nearby tables noticed, and now, as he steps into this new role, I know he'll continue to surround himself with the caliber of people who can match his ambition. People who understand that success requires making difficult decisions about the future. The words hit like physical blows. She wasn't just talking about business partnerships. "Some chapters end so that better ones can begin," Gabriella said, raising her glass, "to Miles and to the exciting changes ahead." The room erupted in applause. Miles stood beaming, accepting congratulations from all sides. He caught my eye and winked, completely oblivious to what his mother had just done. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you all." His voice carried easily across the room. "This promotion represents everything I've worked toward for the past 7 years. Building this company from nothing, securing clients like Morrison Industries, creating something that will last from nothing, as if I hadn't been there from day one. I'm excited about the future," he continued, "about the new directions we'll be taking, the fresh perspectives we'll be bringing in. Change is never easy, but it's necessary for growth." Fresh perspectives. I felt Valentina's hand touch my arm gently, a small gesture of sympathy that somehow made everything worse. "So here's to the future." Miles raised his glass high. "To new beginnings." The crowd cheered again. People were standing now, applauding, celebrating the man who was about to destroy everything I'd built. I stood up too. The movement was so sudden, so unexpected, that conversations died mid-sentence. All eyes turned to me as I walked toward the front of the room. "Excuse me," I said, my voice cutting through the silence. "I'd like to say something." Miles's smile faltered slightly. "Honey, maybe we should." "No?" I held up my hand. "I think everyone should hear this." Gabriella's face had gone pale. Atticus was frowning. Valentina looked terrified. I reached the microphone stand and adjusted it to my height. The room was completely silent now, 200 people waiting to see what the quiet wife had to say. I looked out at all those faces, clients, colleagues, family members who'd watched me be diminished and dismissed for years. Then I looked at Miles, standing frozen beside his chair, finally understanding that something had gone very, very wrong. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady and clear, "to celebrate my husband's promotion, his success, his vision." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "I'd like to tell you a story about how this company really got built. 7 years ago, Miles and I started this company in our garage," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the silent room. "What you might not know is that I wrote the first lines of code. I developed our flagship product. I secured our first 3 major clients, including the Peterson Group." Miles stepped forward. "Danielle, what are you—" "I am not finished." I didn't even look at him. "The Morrison contract that we're celebrating tonight, I spent 3 months on that proposal. I personally flew to Chicago twice to meet with their technical team. I negotiated every detail of that deal." Yvonne Morrison was frowning now, looking between Miles and me with growing confusion. "But that's not the most interesting part," I continued, reaching into my purse. The most interesting part is what's been happening behind the scenes while I've been building this company. I pulled out the envelope and opened it calmly. Miles has been very busy lately, meeting with lawyers, opening separate bank accounts, planning what he calls a partnership restructuring. Stop! Miles's voice was sharp now. This isn't the time or place. When would be the right time, Miles? After you've had me legally removed from the company I built? After you've replaced me with Vanessa? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Gabriella's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. That's right, I said, looking directly at her. Your son has been planning to divorce me and push me out of the business. The lawyers have been very thorough in their correspondence. I held up a printed email. This one's particularly interesting. It's from Hartwell and Associates, outlining how to minimize my claim to company assets. Apparently, I'm just a non-essential spouse who can be easily written out of the narrative. You went through my private emails? Miles's face was flushed with anger and panic. Your private emails that you access from our company servers, the same servers I helped design? I smiled coldly. Yes, I did. Atticus stood up abruptly. This is completely inappropriate, whatever personal issues you two are having. Personal issues? I turned to face him. Mr. Morrison, did you know that when you negotiated your contract, you were actually dealing with me? Every technical specification, every cost analysis, every innovation you praised, that was my work. Yvonne Morrison's face was darkening. Is this true? Of course not, Miles said quickly. Danielle's upset. She's not thinking clearly. I'm thinking very clearly. I pulled out another document. This is the original Morrison proposal with my digital signature and timestamp. 3 months of work, my work. I handed it to Ivan, who scanned it quickly. His expression grew thunderous. Mr. Morrison, Miles tried again. I can explain. You lied to me, Ivan said flatly. You took credit for work you didn't do. That's not, it's more complicated than, actually, it gets more complicated, I interrupted, because as of tomorrow morning, I'm dissolving my partnership in this company. All intellectual property developed by me, which includes our core product, the Morrison integration system, and about 60% of our client solutions, will be transferred to my new entity. The room erupted. Clients were standing, demanding explanations. Gabriella was shouting something about lawyers. Atticus was red-faced with fury. You can't do that, Miles yelled over the chaos. We're married. It's community property. Actually, we signed a prenup, remember? Your mother insisted on it. I looked at Gabriella, whose face had gone ashen. She was so worried about protecting the family assets. Turns out it protects mine, too. Jamie appeared at the back of the room, catching my eye and nodding once. Everything was ready. The best part, I continued, raising my voice above the noise, is that I've been documenting everything for months. Every stolen idea, every dismissed contribution, every time I was introduced as an operations coordinator instead of a founding partner. I pulled out my phone and held it up, including tonight's lovely speech about fresh perspectives and new beginnings. It's all recorded. Miles lunged toward me, but Ivan Morrison stepped between us. Don't, Yvonne said coldly. You've done enough damage. This is insane, Gabriella shrieked. She's destroying everything out of spite. I'm not destroying anything, I said calmly. I'm taking what's mine, what I built, what I earned. The employees, Valentina said suddenly, her voice cutting through the chaos. What about the people who work for us? For the first time, I hesitated. Anyone who wants to come with me is welcome. I'll be making offers tomorrow. You vindictive bitch, Gabriella snarled. You're ruining him. No, I said, looking directly at Miles. He ruined himself. I just stopped pretending it wasn't happening. Miles's face crumpled. Danielle, please, we can work this out. We can fix this. Fix what exactly? The lying, the cheating, the 7 years of taking credit for my work? I shook my head. There's nothing left to fix. I walked back to the microphone one last time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the celebration, because tomorrow everything changes. The room was in complete chaos now. Clients were demanding answers, family members were shouting, and Miles was standing in the middle of it all, watching his empire crumble in real time. I picked up my purse and walked toward the exit, my heels clicking steadily on the marble floor. Danielle, Miles called after me. You can't just leave. We need to talk. I paused at the door and turned back one last time. We're done talking, Miles. We've been done for a long time. I just finally stopped listening. I made it halfway across the parking lot before the shouting started behind me. Car doors slamming, voices carrying across the night air. I didn't look back. My phone was buzzing constantly, text after text lighting up the screen. What the hell was that? Miles. Call me immediately. Atticus. You've lost your mind. Gabriella. Holy shit. Are you okay? Jamie? I was scrolling through them when footsteps approached. Valentina appeared beside my car, slightly out of breath. That was... She started, then stopped. I don't even know what that was. That was 7 years of silence finally ending. Danielle, I had no idea. About Vanessa, about the lawyers, about any of it. I studied her face in the parking lot lights. Valentina had always been the decent one in that family, the one who remembered my birthday, who asked about my work, who didn't treat me like an intruder. But you knew something was wrong. She nodded slowly. The way Mom talked about you lately, the comments about upgrading. I thought it was just her usual nastiness, but it wasn't. I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked. I should have said something. I should have warned you. Would it have changed anything? She was quiet for a moment. Probably not. But you deserve better from all of us. More footsteps. Miles appeared, his face flushed and desperate. Valentina, give us a minute. No, I said firmly. She can stay. Whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of your sister. Danielle, please. You're destroying everything we built together. Everything I built. You just took credit for it. That's not fair. I brought in clients. I handled the business side. You handled the schmoozing. I handled everything else. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screen. 17 missed calls from Ivan Morrison. Want to guess what he's calling about? Miles's face went pale. He's upset, but we can fix this. We can explain. Explain what? That you lied to him? That you've been lying to everyone for years? I never lied. I presented things in the best light. You erased me, Miles, completely. Do you know how that feels? Valentina was watching this exchange with growing horror. Miles, tell me you didn't actually take credit for her work. It's complicated, Val. In business you have to... It's not complicated, I interrupted. It's theft, intellectual theft, credit theft, and now he was planning actual theft through the lawyers. My phone rang. Jamie. I need to take this, I answered. What's the status? Chaos, Jamie said. Half the board is calling emergency meetings. Morrison just sent a formal letter suspending their contract pending investigation, and Vanessa's been calling the office nonstop. What does she want? Damage control, probably. She's been texting Miles too, but he's not responding. I looked at Miles, who was staring at his own phone with growing panic. Jamie, are the transfers ready? Everything's in place. Just say the word. Do it. I hung up and turned back to Miles. It's done. all my intellectual property, all my client relationships, all my work. It's officially mine now. You can't do this. His voice was rising. We're married. We're partners. Were. We were partners. Until you decided to replace me. I wasn't replacing you. Vanessa is just what? Your backup plan? Your upgrade? Valentina gasped. Oh my God, Miles, you were actually going to leave her? It's not like that. Then what is it like? I demanded. Explain it to me. Explain how planning to divorce me and steal my company isn't exactly what it looks like. He opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in 7 years, Miles was speechless. That's what I thought. More footsteps. Gabriella and Atticus approached, both looking murderous. You little gold digger, Gabriella spat. This is what you were planning all along, wasn't it? Marry into the family, steal everything you could. Mom, stop, Valentina said sharply. Don't defend her. She just destroyed your brother's career. She didn't destroy anything, Valentina shot back. She took back what was hers. Valentina! Atticus's voice was sharp with warning. No, Dad, I'm done pretending this is okay. I've watched you all treat Danielle like garbage for years, and I said nothing. I'm not saying nothing anymore. The family turned on her then, voices raised, accusations flying. I watched Valentina stand her ground against her own parents and brother, defending me when no one else would. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. This doesn't have to get ugly. V. Vanessa, the woman who'd been waiting in the wings to take my place. I showed the text to Miles. Your girlfriend wants to chat. She's not my girlfriend. Then why is she texting me about keeping things from getting ugly? He stared at the phone, his face cycling through panic, anger, and something that might have been shame. Danielle, he said quietly, what do you want? What will it take to fix this? I looked at him, really looked at him, the man I'd loved, the man I'd built a life with, the man who'd been planning to discard me like yesterday's news. There's nothing to fix, Miles. We're done. The company's done. Your promotion's probably done. And your relationship with Vanessa. I shrugged. That's between you and her. I got in my car and rolled down the window. Valentina, if you need anything, call me. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I drove away, leaving the Evans family standing in the parking lot, their perfect evening and their perfect plan in ruins. The first article hit the internet at 6 a.m. Tech executive's wife exposes husband's lies at promotion dinner. I was sitting in my kitchen, coffee growing cold, watching my phone explode with notifications. The story was everywhere. Business blogs, social media, even the local news. Someone had recorded everything. Danielle? Jamie's voice came through my phone. Have you seen? I'm looking at it now. There's video. Someone posted the whole thing on LinkedIn. It's got 50,000 views already. I clicked the link he sent. There I was, standing at the microphone, calmly destroying my husband's career in front of 200 people. The comments were brutal. This is what happens when you underestimate your wife. She's a savage. I love it. Plot twist. The quiet ones are always the most dangerous. My doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Valentina holding 2 coffee cups and what looked like a box of pastries. Peace offering, she said when I opened the door, and moral support. You don't have to. Yes, I do. My family treated you horribly, and I stood by and let it happen. We sat at my kitchen table while she filled me in on the aftermath. Miles didn't come home last night. Mom's been calling lawyers since dawn. Dad's locked himself in his office and the phone hasn't stopped ringing. What about the company? Emergency board meeting at 9. Half the clients are demanding explanations. The other half are threatening to pull their contracts. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Meet me at Cafe Luna in an hour. We need to discuss terms. V. Vanessa? Valentina asked, reading over my shoulder. Apparently. Are you going? I looked at the message again. Terms. Like this was a business negotiation. Yeah, I think I am. Cafe Luna was crowded with the morning rush. I spotted Vanessa immediately. Tall, blonde, perfectly put together even at 8 a.m. She looked like everything Gabriella thought a proper wife should be. Danielle! She stood as I approached, extending a manicured hand. Thank you for coming. What do you want, Vanessa? To talk, woman to woman. I sat down across from her, studying her face. She was beautiful, poised, and clearly uncomfortable. You destroyed him last night, she said without preamble. He destroyed himself. I just provided the evidence. The video's everywhere. His reputation is ruined. Good. She blinked, apparently not expecting such directness. Look, she continued, I know how this looks, but Miles and it's not what you think. Really? What is it then? It's business, strategic. My firm represents several major tech companies. Miles needed those connections. And you needed what? A successful husband? Her composure cracked slightly. I needed a partner who understood ambition, who wouldn't hold me back. Like I held him back? You have to admit, you were never really suited for this world. The networking, the politics, the image management. Miles needed someone who could navigate those waters. I almost laughed. You mean someone who looked the part? Image matters in business. You know that? What I know is that while you were planning to navigate those waters, I was actually building the company, creating the products, securing the clients. What exactly were you bringing to this partnership besides good cheekbones? Her face flushed. I have an MBA from Wharton. I've managed multi-million-dollar accounts. And I have a computer science degree from MIT and 7 years of building a business from nothing. But sure, let's talk about credentials. She was quiet for a moment, then leaned forward. What will it take? For what? To make this go away. The video, the story, the damage to Miles's reputation. You've made your point. Now let's be practical. You want to buy me off? I want to find a solution that works for everyone. My phone rang. Jamie again. Excuse me. I answered. What's wrong? We have a problem, a big one. His voice was tight with stress. The company dissolution is triggering mass layoffs. 60 people are losing their jobs, effective immediately. The cafe noise faded around me. What? Without your IP and client contracts, the company can't function. The board voted to shut down operations rather than try to rebuild. Jamie, I know, but that's what's happening. And the employees are finding out through the news. I hung up, my hands shaking slightly. Bad news? Vanessa asked. 60 people just lost their jobs because of what I did last night. I'm sorry to hear that. She didn't sound sorry. But that's what happens when you make emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. I stared at her. You really don't get it, do you? Get what? Those are real people, with families, mortgages, kids in college. They didn't deserve to get caught in the crossfire. Collateral damage is unfortunate, but stop! I stood up abruptly. Just stop talking. Danielle, wait. We can still work something out. No, we can't, because you and Miles are exactly the same. You see people as chess pieces, as assets to be managed or obstacles to be removed. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been Miles giving me credit for my work. Fair would have been his family treating me with basic respect. Fair would have been him talking to me before planning to replace me. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. This isn't over. Vanessa called after me. I turned back. Yes, it is. For you, for Miles, for all of it. I'm done playing games. But as I walked to my car, Jamie's words echoed in my head. 60 people, 60 families affected by my need for revenge. Maybe Vanessa was right about one thing. I had made an emotional decision instead of a strategic one. The question was, what was I going to do about it now? The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, adjusting my blazer for the third time. The woman staring back at me looked composed, professional. She didn't look like someone whose revenge had just cost 60 people their jobs. My phone had been ringing nonstop since the layoff announcement. Reporters, former employees, business contacts. I'd ignored most of them, but one call I couldn't avoid came at noon. "Ms. Danielle, this is Marcus from accounting." His voice was shaky. "I just wanted to say, I know this wasn't your fault. What Miles did to you was wrong." "Marcus, I'm so sorry about your job." "Don't apologize. You gave us 7 good years. My daughter's starting college next month because of the salary you helped make possible. I just wanted you to know that some of us understand." The call ended and I sat staring at my phone. Some understood. But what about the others? Jamie picked me up at 1:30. "You ready for this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." The press had gathered outside the downtown Marriott. Cameras, microphones, reporters shouting questions as we walked through the lobby. I'd given plenty of presentations over the years, but never like this. The conference room was packed. I recognized several faces: business journalists, tech bloggers, even a crew from the local news station. At the back of the room, I spotted Miles. He looked like he hadn't slept. I took my place at the podium and waited for the room to quiet. "Thank you all for coming. I'm here to address the events of last night and their consequences." A reporter in the front row immediately raised her hand. "Ms. Danielle, did you plan to destroy the company when you exposed your husband?" "I planned to reclaim what was mine. The company's dissolution was a board decision, not mine." "But you knew your actions would have consequences." "Yes, I knew there would be consequences for everyone involved, including me." Another reporter jumped in. "Are you saying you regret what you did?" I paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "I regret that innocent people got hurt. I don't regret standing up for myself." "What about the 60 employees who lost their jobs?" "That's actually why I'm here." I pulled out a prepared statement. "Effective immediately, I'm launching a new company. We'll be offering positions to every displaced employee at their current salary, plus a signing bonus to cover the transition period." Murmurs rippled through the room. I saw Miles's face change from confusion to something that looked like panic. "Furthermore," I continued, "I'll be reaching out to all affected clients to discuss continuing their projects under the new entity. Any client who chooses to stay will receive a 20% discount on their current contracts." The questions came rapid fire after that. "Where's the funding coming from?" "What's the new company's focus?" "Will your husband have any involvement?" "No," I said firmly to the last question. "Miles will have no involvement whatsoever. This is my company, built on my work with my team." A familiar voice called out from the back. "What about the intellectual property disputes?" I looked directly at Miles. "There are no disputes. The IP belongs to me. That's been legally established." After the conference, I was packing up my notes when footsteps approached. Miles stood beside the podium looking defeated. "That was smart," he said quietly. "The employee thing, good PR." "It's not PR. It's the right thing to do." "Is there room for one more employee?" I stared at him. "Are you serious?" "I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you, but I also know this business. I could help." "Help?" My voice rose slightly. "You want to help me run the company you tried to steal from me?" "I made mistakes." "You made choices, deliberate, calculated choices. For months. He was quiet for a moment. What about us, our marriage? What marriage, Miles? The one where you planned to divorce me, or the one where you took credit for my work for 7 years? I never meant for it to go this far. Which part? The lying, the cheating, or the legal maneuvering? He didn't answer. I filed for divorce this morning, I said. You'll be served tomorrow. His face crumpled. Danielle, please. We can work through this. Couples therapy, counseling. There's nothing to work through. You showed me exactly who you are. I'm finally listening. I walked toward the exit, but his voice stopped me. The new company. What are you calling it? I turned back. Phoenix Tech, because sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something better. Outside, Jamie was waiting by the car with his laptop open. How'd it go in there? Better than expected. What's the status on the employee calls? 43 have already said yes. The rest want to hear more details, but it looks promising. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Impressive press conference. We should talk. R. Harrison, Harrison Dynamics. I showed Jamie the message. His eyebrows shot up. Harrison Dynamics? They're our biggest competitor. Former competitor. What do you think they want? I looked at the message again. Robert Harrison was known for two things: building tech empires and destroying anyone who got in his way. I think, I said slowly, they want to make sure I'm not a threat. Are you? I smiled for the first time in days. I guess we're about to find out. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Miles in the rearview mirror, still standing outside the hotel, looking lost and alone. 7 years ago, that sight would have broken my heart. Today, it just looked like justice. Robert Harrison's office occupied the entire top floor of the tallest building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city that was probably meant to intimidate. It didn't work. Ms. Danielle? He stood as I entered, a silver-haired man in his 60s with the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. Thank you for coming. Mr. Harrison, we sat across from each other at a conference table that could have seated 20. He'd brought 2 lawyers. I'd brought Jamie and a recording app on my phone. I'll be direct, Harrison said. Your little publicity stunt has caused quite a stir in our industry. It wasn't a stunt, it was the truth. Truth, revenge, semantics. He waved dismissively. What matters is that you positioned yourself as a disruptor that makes you either a valuable asset or a dangerous liability. Which am I? That depends on your next move. Jamie shifted beside me. What exactly are you proposing? Harrison smiled. A merger. Phoenix Tech becomes a subsidiary of Harrison Dynamics. Ms. Danielle gets a generous buyout and a consulting position. Everyone wins. Everyone except the employees who lose their jobs in the integration, I said. Some redundancy is inevitable. No deal. His smile faltered. You haven't heard the terms yet. I don't need to. I didn't destroy one company just to hand my new one over to someone else. Ms. Danielle, you're being emotional again. This is business. You're the second person this week to tell me I'm being emotional. You know what's emotional? Spending 7 years building something just to watch someone else take credit. What I'm being now is strategic. I stood up. Jamie, we're leaving. Sit down. Harrison's voice had lost all pretense of friendliness. You think you can just walk away? I have contracts with half your potential clients. I can make sure Phoenix Tech never gets off the ground. You can try. I don't try, Ms. Danielle. I succeed. Ask anyone who's tried to compete with me. I leaned forward, placing my hands on the table. Here's what you don't understand, Mr. Harrison. I'm not trying to compete with you. I'm trying to build something better, something that values people over profits. How noble and how naive. Maybe, but I'd rather be naive than soulless. His face darkened. You'll regret this decision. I've made a lot of decisions I regret. This won't be one of them. We left his lawyer scrambling to catch up as we walked out. That went well, Jamie said in the elevator. He's going to come after us hard. I know. Are you ready for that fight? I looked at him, this brilliant, loyal friend who'd stuck by me through everything. Are you? He grinned. I've been ready since the day you stood up at that microphone. My phone rang as we reached the parking garage. Valentina. Danielle, I just wanted to let you know, Miles moved out today. He's staying with Mom and Dad. How are you holding up? Better than expected. I told them I'm supporting you in Phoenix Tech. Dad threatened to cut me off financially. Valentina, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I should have done it years ago. She paused. Actually, I was wondering if you might need a business development manager. I have an MBA and 7 years of watching my family's company from the inside. I looked at Jamie, who was nodding enthusiastically. When can you start? Tomorrow? Perfect. Welcome to Phoenix Tech. The next morning, I stood in our new office space, a converted warehouse in the Arts District, nothing like the sterile corporate towers I was used to. 57 of the 60 displaced employees had accepted our offers. The 3 who hadn't had already found other positions. Ms. Danielle? Marcus from accounting appeared in my doorway. The Morrison contract came through. They're staying with us. And the Peterson Group? Signed this morning. Plus, we got 3 new inquiries from companies who saw your press conference. I walked to the window overlooking the warehouse floor. Developers were setting up workstations. Designers were hanging artwork, and in the corner, someone had installed a coffee bar that actually served decent coffee. It looks like chaos, Valentina said, joining me at the window. Good chaos or bad chaos? The best kind, the kind that builds something real. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the new company. You deserve every success. A former competitor who learned to respect you the hard way, Yvonne Morrison. I showed the message to Valentina, who laughed. I think you've made more than a few people reconsider their assumptions about quiet wives. Good. Maybe the next woman won't have to burn everything down to get what she's earned. Jamie appeared with a bottle of champagne and 3 glasses. What are we celebrating? I asked. Harrison Dynamics just lost their biggest client. Apparently, word got out about his meeting with you yesterday. Turns out, threatening to destroy small businesses isn't great for corporate image. We raised our glasses as the sun streamed through the warehouse windows, illuminating the controlled chaos of our new beginning. To Phoenix Tech, Valentina said. To second chances, Jamie added. I looked around at the life I was building, messy, uncertain, but entirely mine. To rising from the ashes. We drank, and for the first time in 7 years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. The revenge had been sweet, but this was better. This was freedom.